My name is Claire Clatterbuck. I'm 30 years old. On October 19th at my engagement party, my mother snatched the microphone right in the middle of the toasts. In front of 86 guests, she smiled sweetly and said, "Claire dropped out of medical school because she couldn't handle the pressure. Honestly, she couldn't even keep her first marriage together." A nervous chuckle rippled through the room. My father started to stand, ready to add his usual polished lie about my fragile constitution. But my fiancé, Evan, rose slowly to his feet. He looked my mother dead in the eyes, his voice calm, but sharp as a blade. "Mrs. Clatterbuck, before you keep going, would you like to tell everyone why you really pulled Claire out of medical school? Or should I do it for you?" My mother's champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. The entire room went dead silent. They thought they knew my story. They were wrong. I grew up on the main line of Pennsylvania. Old money, tree-lined streets, country club memberships passed down like heirlooms. In our world, what people thought of you wasn't secondary to who you were. It was who you were. My mother, Diane, was a hospital administrator, terrifyingly efficient. My father, Lawrence, was a VP at a pharmaceutical company. We performed respectability. We didn't air our problems. We solved them quietly. When I got into UPenn Medical School in 2017, my mother cried, not from joy, but from relief. Her daughter, the future doctor, was the ultimate social proof. But by late 2018, things shifted. My father started coming home early. My mother canceled our annual holiday party. In January 2019, my mother called me into the library. She told me my father's company was restructuring and we were facing a temporary financial emergency. She slid a form across the table. Voluntary medical leave. "We need you to help the family get through this," she said. "Just a semester. We'll redirect your education fund temporarily for legal expenses." I trusted her. I signed the form on January 15th, 2019. The reason stated family health emergency requiring caregiver presence. I thought I was being a caregiver. I didn't read the fine print. I didn't ask what my mother had written in her email to the dean. That was my first mistake. I started working as a clinical research coordinator. My mother withdrew my entire education fund, $127,000, on Valentine's Day, transferred to the Clatterbuck Family Trust, labeled legal expenses. My father settled his situation in September 2019. He hadn't just been laid off. He'd embezzled $865,000. He paid it back over 3 years. My salary helped cover those payments. I lived at home, working to pay for his crime, while believing I was just helping out during a rough patch. But the money wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the story. By March 2019, my mother was telling neighbors I needed a break. By May, she was telling people at the club that medical school wasn't the right fit for Claire. When I confronted her, she said, "I'm protecting our privacy. You're being sensitive." Then she moved on to my love life. She introduced me to Grant. We married in 2020. But Grant started quoting my mother. "Your mom mentioned you get anxious about big decisions. Your mother said you've been through a lot." 18 months into our marriage, during an argument, Grant said, "Your mother warned me you'd try to do too much again. She said you don't always recognize your limits." I called my mother. "Did you tell Grant I had a breakdown?" "I told him you went through a difficult time," she said. "I was protecting you. You were fragile, Claire. I pulled you out before you completely fell apart." I hung up. She believed her own lie. She'd rewritten history so thoroughly she couldn't see the difference. I filed for separation in October 2021, in June 2022, while sorting through divorce paperwork. I found it, a tax document, line 43, education fund withdrawal penalty, $127,000. Destination, Clatterbuck Family Trust, legal expenses. I called Penn Medical School and requested my complete file. The email arrived on July 28th. I opened it in my car. There was the leave form I signed, but underneath, in official processing notes, student requesting mental health support during leave period. I never wrote those words. Then, the email from my mother to the associate dean, sent 3 days before she made me sign the form. Claire has been experiencing significant anxiety and stress adaptation issues. Our family is seeking appropriate mental health support for her. We respectfully request accommodation for voluntary medical leave. She hadn't just taken my money. She'd taken my story. She'd created an official record of my alleged instability. She'd turned my sacrifice into my failure. I wasn't going back to med school, but I wasn't done. I got promoted to senior clinical research manager. I cut contact with my parents down to holiday cards. Then I met Evan. He was a healthcare compliance attorney. When I told him the truth, he didn't offer pity. He said, "What your mother did, misrepresenting your mental state to an institution, that could be fraud." By our 4th date, I'd shown him everything. The email, the bank records, the settlement documents. "Do you want to do something about this?" he asked. "I want her to stop being able to tell that story about me. Then we'll make sure she can't." When my mother insisted on hosting our engagement, Pado Evan looked at me. "Your call. I wanted one last chance for truth. Let's do it, but on our terms." My mother contributed $8,500, which meant she controlled the planning. She expected a photo slideshow. Evan told the venue coordinator otherwise. "We'd like to set up a slideshow. Candid pictures, something sweet." The hotel set up a 120-inch screen. Evan tested the connection. No photos would show, just documents. 3 weeks prior, Evan met with Grant, my ex-husband. He showed him the truth. Grant's hands shook as he read my mother's email. "I married a version of you she invented," he said. He agreed to be Evan's witness. October 19th arrived, 86 guests. My mother wore Armani and smiled like she'd won something. At 7:30, she took the microphone. She talked about my sensitive nature, how I'd always needed guidance. Then she went, "For the throat." Medical school was too much pressure for Claire. She dropped out. She couldn't keep up. And her first marriage, well, some people just aren't ready for that kind of commitment. My father started to stand, ready to add his lie. But Evan stood up first. "Mrs. Clatterbuck, before you keep going, would you like to tell everyone why you really pulled Claire out of medical school? Or should I do it for you?" My mother's glass shattered. Evan walked to the screen. The venue coordinator handed him the remote. The screen lit up. Not with pictures of us laughing on the beach, but with the email from Diane Clatterbuck to the dean. "Claire has been experiencing significant anxiety and stress adaptation issues." 86 people read it in real time. Someone gasped. "This email was sent 3 days before Claire signed her leave form," Evan said, his voice courtroom professional. "Claire never requested mental health support. She didn't know her mother told Penn she was unstable." He pressed the remote. Next slide. The bank withdrawal, $127,000. Legal expenses. "Claire's education fund," Evan said. "Withdrawn without her knowledge. Not for a health emergency, for legal expenses." Next slide. The employment separation agreement. Restitution, $865,000, financial misconduct. "Mr. Clatterbuck was under investigation for embezzlement," Evan announced. His wife told Claire there was a financial emergency. She asked Claire to start working to help support the family. And then, she sent this email, creating an official record that Claire was mentally unstable. My mother tried to interrupt. You were protecting your husband, and yourselves." Evan turned to the crowd. "She rewrote Claire's story so thoroughly that even she started to believe it." He paused. "Mrs. Clatterbuck also told Claire's first husband that Claire had a breakdown, that she needed someone stable to manage her." Grant stood up from table 7. My mother's head whipped around. "What is he doing here?" Grant's voice was quiet but clear. "She told me the same thing, Claire, that you'd had a breakdown. I believed you. I'm sorry. I should have questioned it." I stood up. My voice was steady. I was in the top 25% of my class, Mother. M1 GPA 376. I wasn't struggling. I wasn't failing. You pulled me out to pay for Dad's mistakes. You took my education fund. You told Penn I was mentally unstable. You told my husband I'd had a breakdown. And then you spent 6 years telling everyone I was too weak to finish. I looked around the room. I didn't fail. You did. The room was silent except for my mother's heels clicking on marble as she walked out. My father followed. 63 guests left, with them. 23 stayed. Emily, my college friend, was the first to approach me. Your mom told everyone you had a nervous breakdown. I believed her. I'm so sorry. 12 people said some version of that. My father sent an email 2 days later. Your public humiliation of us was unnecessary and cruel. I deleted it. My mother sent nothing. She still thought she was the victim. Evan and I decided to elope. Small ceremony. February 14th, 2026. 8 people. Just the ones who saw us clearly. When it was Evan's turn to say his vows, he looked at me and said, I promise to always see the real you. Not the version anyone else wrote. Not the story they tried to tell about you. Just you. For the first time in 6 years, I believe someone actually did. Here's what I want you to understand. Some families don't destroy you with screaming. They do it with paperwork, polite lies, stories they tell in your name to people who matter. They rewrite your history so carefully, so officially, that even you start to believe it. The truth doesn't always come quickly. It took me 3 years from the moment I saw that tax document to the night I stood in front of 86 people and reclaimed my story. But when truth comes, it gives your wounds back their real names. I wasn't weak. I was betrayed. I wasn't fragile. I was lied about. I didn't fail. I was sabotaged. Those are different things, and the difference matters. I didn't get my MD, but I got something better. I got my life back, and the right to tell my own story. If you're listening to this and you've ever had someone rewrite your life, someone who told people you were something you weren't, I want you to know you're not crazy. You know what happened to you. And someday, when you're ready, you'll tell it. That's my story. The real one. The one I'm writing now.